Welcome to another episode of the Strange Motion Way podcast. I'm your host, Tim Strange, along with
Carrie Strange.
Today we have, I'm just going to say, one of our favorite guys from the industry. He's been doing his company since 1990. He's a member of HRIA. I believe he's a member of the HRA Hall of Fame. Served on a bunch of SEMA boards. He's even wrote a book. I know you're not going to read it because you don't read well. You just look at pictures. It probably has pictures. He's one of our favorites to stop and visit at the shows, and he gives great hugs. It's weird that you get longer hugs from him than I do. He has driven a street rod in a panel truck for, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of miles. We'll talk about that later, doing events and hauling the booth. Tonight, welcome Dennis Overholser from Painless Performance.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Good. Looking
Good.
forward to this. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been talking to him since we've been doing this. Like finally, I told Carrie, I says, just get Dennis ready for next week. So she goes, okay, he's ready to go. So,
yeah.
So let's go back to little Dennis. I know you got raised on a farm like I did. So, what was young Dennis in life before you even went to high school?
Well, I was raised on a corn farm in north central Indiana, and lived out in a farmhouse, and we had all the different animals and all that kind of stuff. So it's when I got old enough to, I guess, help on the farming and so forth. My job was to clean up after the animals. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun, especially hogs. I mean, that was not something I'd like to do, but it's part of the deal.
And if you've never been around hogs, hog manure smell, to me, I rank, my dad worked for a hog farmer. Hog manure smell is worse than cows of getting it off of your skin. It's like, I rank it right up there with gear lube. And if you've never been around a pig farm, you'd understand, like a hog confinement building, it is a different smell.
It is. And once it's in your clothes, you cannot get it out.
Yeah. Yep.
You can wash and wash. So I still have two nephews that raise about 6,000 head a day.
Oh, wow.
And there's a big packing plant there close to where they live. So they're constantly, working the hogs. And they have special clothes that they wear when they have to go. Everything's automatic, but they still have to go in and weed a few of them out, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, my cousin worked at a big one of those like factory farm types things, and to keep germs from coming and going, he showers in and out in those hog confinement buildings where when he worked for this place. And like you say, then he puts his work clothes on, takes his work clothes off, goes to the shower house, showers out, put on street clothes, and comes out. But the smell was still in his truck. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they shower in to get their outside germs away, and then same thing when they come out.
Yeah. So did all that. We had chickens as well. So I helped mom collect eggs and just grew up as a farm kid. Didn't really do much else. I was in Boy Scouts, and so I would in the little town where we lived. It was about a mile and a half from the house. So I'd ride my bike to Boy Scout meetings at night, and been to Philmont 3 times, the big scout ranch in New Mexico as a scout. Mm-hmm. And when I moved to Texas later, I became a scout master, and I was scout master for 7 years.
Oh, cool.
Keller, just north of Fort Worth here. So
my farm life was a little different. I wanted to be a Boy Scout, and my parents would not. We were 20 some miles from the place where they had the meetings. I couldn't ride my bike that long, and they're like, nope, we don't have time. They worked me too hard. Yeah. They wouldn't let me. I was in 4-H, but I wasn't a Boy Scout. Yeah.
Yeah, I did 4-H as well. We had sheep. I mean, we had about every animal known. But so when I was doing 4-H at the county fair, I did sheep, and that's what I'd flock them and make them look good, and walk them out. They look at them, walk them back. All the stuff you have to do.
We never had sheep on our farm, but the place I worked at, when I had my driver's license, I worked in the morning on the school work program. So this is, maybe probably understand this. My dad worked there too for a while. And they're like, the barnyard was down here where we kept the rams at the bottom of the hill. And then when we were going to breed the ewes up on top, you just kind of walked them through the barnyard. And I've seen the guy do that. I was like, how does he do that? Well, they laughed at me and I was like, okay. And I had, like my herding panel, like when you sort pigs and stuff like that. And these rams kept knocking me on my butt. I was probably 14 at this time then. And finally they showed me what to do. You had to make a slip knot and you put it around his testicles on the ram, and then he would follow you anywhere you go. Well, the older rams, you didn't even have to put the slip knot on them because they knew, hey, it's going to go, we get to go breed the female sheep up the hill. And they laughed at me and I was like, well, the young ones, it was hard to get the slip knot on them the very first time. So did you have to put a slip knot on some sheep testicles to lead them around the barnyard?
No, we didn't get in that much. No.
That's how I lead Tim.
Yeah, that's how she leads me around. Yeah. So as a farm kid, I'm sure, like, I started driving a farm truck to my neighbors when I was 8, 9 years old. You probably started driving early on in your life, didn't you? Being a farm kid, driving tractors and everything.
Yeah, I did. I drove. I don't know how old it was when I first got on. We had a couple Alice Chalmers tractors and a little Ford tractor.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time I drove the Ford tractor, and for a cultivating or disking or small stuff like that, or pulling a hay wagon sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We'd build the hay. We did all the stuff, but it was an interesting life. I mean, we were very poor, but we ate well because we had all the animals and a huge garden and all that kind of stuff. But we didn't have much money.
We rarely ate anything that we didn't grow on the farm, but my buddies that lived in town, they liked to come out and eat dinner with us because we were always having steak and bacon and pork chops and stuff. But my mom would feed any of my buddies. But the deal was you had to help do chores first. You had to either throw some hay, feed the cow, do something. Then she would feed anybody, but you had to work. You couldn't eat a free meal without working first.
Well, that's pretty good.
So what was your first vehicle that you had on the farm that you were driving?
Dad bought a 49 Chrysler and a four-door sedan car from a neighbor for $50.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I learned to drive in. It had fluid drive, and tires were all bald. I mean, you couldn't drive it 5 miles. Of course, we didn't. I just up on the county road a little bit, back to down our long lane. So that was the first car. And but the first car that I actually had that was drivable after I got my license was a 54 Chevrolet Bel Air four-door sedan.
Mm-hmm.
And nice little car, green, and it ran good. Of course,
What year was this when you got your license?
Let's see, that had to be in 1960. $15, $61.
You know we'd have to do math today.
I know, right?
61 or 62. I don't remember for sure right off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. That car wasn't even 10 years old that you bought. And before that, your dad's car wasn't that old, and it was $50 at the time. So the prices really fell off on cars after they had some miles on them back then.
Oh, yeah. So then, so I drove the 54. Oh gosh. Trying to think. A couple years, then the rear end locked up in it. And so Dad said, let's go see what else I got. So I ran into a guy that was a friend of, he worked at a little gas station, and he had a 56 Bel Air convertible.
Mm.
So it was that kind of that yellowish color with black.
Oh, great colors, yeah.
Great 265 automatic, power steering, brakes, loaded, Wonder Bar radio, the whole 9 yards. So I drove that for a couple of years. and he had a 60 Chevrolet sedan. And he was kind of a car trader, kind of a horse trader type thing. He had to have something. I don't remember ever buying anything brand new, but he had to have something different all the time. So I had the 56 parked out in the barnyard, and he parked the 60. No, he had a 59, and it was the 60, the white four-door hardtop car. He backed into it, not knowing that I'd parked behind him, and it was dark out, that kind of thing. Bang! Busted in a whole quarter panel on the driver's side. So I went down and bought a little body filler and made it look even worse. So ended up trading it in for a 62. This was in 64. Late 64. A 62 Chevy 2 red convertible, white top, red interior. That was a nice old 3-speed car on the tree, 6-cylinder. So I drove that car for, oh gosh, several years. And when I graduated out of high school, I went to Nashville Auto Diesel College, Nashville, Tennessee.
So before we get into college, Carrie always has high school questions.
Yep. So my first question is, what kind of student was Dennis?
I was, up until I got into high school, I was very good in math. Then I got a teacher, and I struggled with this one teacher. And I passed algebra, I passed geometry, not well, but I did. English, not a problem. But my major in high school was industrial arts. All 4 years, I went through drafting, I went through welding school, I went through woodworking schools, went through printing, anything that was offered in industrial arts, that's what I took. And I played basketball. I was on the varsity team for a while, but the coach and I didn't get along too good, so I ended up playing intramural a lot. But growing up, I played baseball. I was a catcher in baseball. So my grades were good, mostly. One thing I had trouble with, math, government and all the civics and all that other stuff we had back then wasn't an issue at all. But
did you get into trouble as a high schooler, as a student?
the only thing I got in trouble once when I was in my 56 for loud mufflers and potential speeding in town. I was in one street and the cop was on another one. We were both side by side. I knew he was over there. So the speed limit was 30, and I think I was doing 35.
That's minor.
Yeah, minor.
So, he gave me a warning.
How big of a school did you go to?
The high school, well, in grade school, there was 12 of us. And in high school, we had the largest graduating class because they consolidated several different schools together. And I think there was 109 in that graduating class.
That's big compared to where we both have had around 30 some, 34, 35 in our graduating class. Yeah, we both went to small schools.
Yeah. But they built a brand new school in 1961. And our class of 65 was the first class to go all 4 years in high school in that new school. So
cool.
Didn't have a football team. Didn't have for years and years. They got one now, I think. But we had a Olympic-sized swimming pool in the school.
Oh wow!
So that was nice. Good swimming classes and that kind of stuff.
And where did you live? Where did you live at?
I lived in the little town of Cutler, Indiana.
Okay.
It's north of Indianapolis, about 60 miles.
Oh, okay.
So out in the middle of nowhere.
So then you went to Nashville Diesel College for college.
Yeah, went there. I went there one semester. Because it did not qualify as a quote university. It was, technical school.
Mhm.
I got a draft notice, and I was going to get drafted or join one or the other. So I had to quit school and go in the military.
So what did you do when you were in the military? Where did you go?
I went in went in the Air Force and went to San Antonio for training. First half of basic training, then went to Amarillo for the second half. Then I went to Rantoul, Illinois, north central Illinois.
I used
Right
to race
outside
the BMX track right outside that place.
Yeah. So that's where I went to tech school and studied. This is kind of an interesting story here for you. When I went in, the recruiter looked at my SAT scores. I had a 95 in electrical, I had a 90 in mechanical, and I had a 60 in clerical and 65 in administrative. So he seen that and he says, "You're a great candidate. We need some electricians." He says, "We're going to send you to electronics school." I said, "Okay." So I went to Chanute and went into the 60th Squadron for electronics. And I was in it for about 2 months. And we were, I don't know, I don't remember exactly what happened, but we got notification that when we graduated, we were going to be working on the Minuteman missiles in the silos up in North Dakota, Minot, North Dakota. And I says, I'm a little claustrophobic, so I don't know if this is going to work or not. So I thought about it, and I decided, no, I've got to do something else, and I don't know how to do it. So I just flunked. I flunked the class.
You flunked on purpose.
I flunked on purpose.
So how does one flunk on purpose? Just purposely write the wrong answers down, not show up, or what?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to show up because you marched to class every day and marched back. Yeah, I just answered the wrong questions. Answered them wrong. So, anyways, I get called into Captain Phillips' office, and he looks at me and he says, "Airman, what is it you're trying to do here?" And I said, "Sir, I want to be an automobile mechanic." He looked at me and he says, "Are you nuts?" I said, "No, sir." He says, I don't know. He called me all kinds of names, of course. We've been on for a while, but we finally got down to the brass tacks, and I said, I told him I was claustrophobic and all this kind of stuff, and I just couldn't do what they wanted me to do. I just couldn't do it. And I says, I can serve the Air Force better as a mechanic or machinist or something like that than I could, in electronics field. So we talked about it a little while, and he says, "Okay, here's what I'll do. I will transfer you to the 48th Squadron, which was Auto Diesel School, like I was going to in Nashville." And he says, on one, I can't think of the right word now, but anyways, he says, yeah, there you go. He says, "If you don't finish in the top of your class, I will make sure that you walk a dog on the perimeter of this Air Force base for the next 4 years."
I'd say sign me up. I'd love to walk a dog and get paid for it. Yeah.
So I said, okay. So transfer me to the 48, and everything went well there. I went, and when you're in the barracks in the military, you've got commanders, you got associates, and all this kind of stuff that they're in charge of everybody that's in there, even though they don't have any more stripes than anybody else does. A lot of times you'll see these military guys with this like a rope looking thing around their shoulder, those type of thing. Well, that's what we call them a rope. So the rope was the guy that you have to answer to and all that kind of stuff. So I made assistant barracks commander in just a few short weeks. And so life in the barracks was great, even though it was tech school. And tech school was really tough because it was, in some ways, it was worse than basic training. I mean, you had to have perfect clothes on every day, perfect seams and everything, crisp. It was kind of tough, but made it through it okay. And on graduation day, they told us that they give us all of our grades, and there was 4 or 5 in the top. A guy by the name of Eisenhower, he lived in Indiana as well. He graduated with a 95, and I graduated with a 94. So we were the top 2 kids in the class.
Nice.
So that's what I did there. And then just before graduation, they called us all into this big auditorium. And the colonels and generals and all the wigs were up there on the stage. And there's probably a couple of hundred of us airmen in there. And they said, we're here today to look for volunteers. Of course, anytime you hear that word volunteer in the military, it's just, you hold your breath and say, oh gosh, not me. But anyways, they were looking for volunteers to go to England, France, and Germany to be stationed there. And it was a 3-year deployment. So I thought, either one of those would be better than Vietnam, because I knew that's where we'd be going. So I stuck my hand up and I says, I volunteer to go to Germany. 3 days later, I've got orders to go to Bitburg, Germany. And graduated, went home, had a few days off, leave, and then flew to New York, visited with a guy that was on the way over there as well. And then he and I got on an airplane and landed, and this is in the latter part of August, I guess, in Frankfurt, Germany. Got on a bus and took me to Bitburg and went to work as a mechanic. So it was cool. It was fun. I got to see almost all of Europe while I was there, and a couple of different things happened. That was I kind of like to tell these stories as well. When we had a big vehicle maintenance building, and we worked on aircraft tugs, police cars, dump trucks, anything that had wheels on it. That's what we worked on. And but before you went into the main building and did all that, there was different things that you had to do beforehand. You had to be well trained in diversified items. So I had to spend a month in the tire shop, changing tires. I had to spend a month in a battery shop, changing batteries, body shop for a month, the gas station for a month, all these things when I first got there. So if something happened, we knew where to go and how to get it and all that kind of stuff. Well, the time that I was up there in the body shop, there was a military Jeep come in. And if you think about the old Jeeps in the back, they really didn't have a bumper other than a piece of metal that was kind of shaped like a football, so to speak, and was bolted to the back end. Well, this Jeep came in, and I don't know if it was one of the commanding officers' Jeeps or whatever it was. But the like, sergeant says, "Okay, can you fix this bumper?" And I said, "Sure." I says, "Where's all the steel?" And he showed me where all the stuff was. So what I found out later was they expected me to get a piece of flat metal and weld it like a T, and then weld that T horizontally to make the bumper. I mean, just a flat plate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got the piece of metal and reformed it to match the other side, like it was like you and I would do today.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't believe I did that. He says, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Because that's the way it's supposed to be." Well, the next thing I know, I got a stripe on my arm. So I did good there. Did good. About a year and a half later, still at Bitburg, I was working night shift. I wouldn't have volunteered, so there was 3 or 4 of us that would work night shift from 4 to midnight. Now I liked it because when I got off work at midnight, I go to midnight chow, which is the best food on the whole base every day, midnight. So I ate and then went to bed, got up the next morning, didn't have to get up early. But if I wanted to go out sightseeing or whatever, I had half a day or most of the day to do that. So it worked out really great, especially when I went to Holland and Belgium and all the other places. Disney. But anyways, I was down there and the phone rang. I was down working, and it was some high-ranking sergeant up on the flight line, and he says, "Do you know, or do you know somebody that knows how to run a machine like a lathe?" And that guy, I said, "Yeah, I can do that, no problem." He says, "We have Big Bertha," and that was a big machine that you see giant wheels like you see a pan scraper along the side of the highway, but it bent in the middle and it had a huge arm that reached out over with a giant hook on it. And what it did was when an F4, and that's what we had at this base, F4 Phantoms, if one of those went off the runway and on the ice or the snow, they would use that to go over and pick that airplane up, put it back up on the runway or take it back up to the hangar. Well, this Big Bertha, the clutch went out in it, and it was a 15 or 16-inch clutch, dual disc, and they did not have any way of putting it back together because they didn't have a pilot shaft. He said, "Can you make us one?" I said, "Sure. Bring me the pilot bearing, bring me one of the discs and a couple of dimensions." So they did. And so I started about 8 o'clock that evening and got up in the machine shop, turned down a piece of steel, welded on some 1/4-inch key stock and machined that down, bit the pilot bearing to, made a nose on the bar where it would go through both discs and into the pilot bearing. And the whole thing was about 13, 14 inches long, weighed about 25 pounds, just big piece of steel. So I called the sergeant back up, and he came right down and got it. And so I didn't think anything about it. I just went on. And the next day, got a call. And it was that sergeant. And he was ecstatic. He says, "I want to thank you for making that because it worked perfectly. We got the Big Bertha back together and it's running." And about, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, I got another stripe on my arm. So,
Awesome.
pretty good. That's pretty cool. But that's what I did over there. And so
You were over there for 3 years then?
no, I actually, but my girlfriend at the time, later my wife, because we got married because we needed to, but she was pregnant with Lance, and so I brought her over after Lance was born. And anytime that you have a family, they will automatically cut your tour from 3 years down to 18 months. So I was over there for a little over 18 months.
I did not know that.
And so I think it's different if you're on your second deployment or something like that, if you're a higher rank or whatever. But so I left there in in October. Let's see, that'd be May of 68. I left Bitburg and went to Travis Air Force Base in California, just north of Sacramento. And so I was stationed there for a year, and then they had an early out because they had too many people at the time. So there was there's 10 or 12 of us that they let us go 6 months early out of the 4 years. So I spent 3 years and 4 months active duty. Month before that, non-active. So that's
where did you land? Did you stay in California when you got out of the military with the family, or did you move back someplace?
No, I moved back to Indiana, and at that time, let's just say we were having some marriage issues, dear John time, and so Joyce went with me for a while, but she ended up going back just after 3 or 4 months back to Indiana. So when I got discharged, came back, we got a divorce, and hung out in a little garage working on cars for a while.
So you're saying you were happily married if you didn't spend that much time together. That's what me and Carrie are only together like half the year. That's why it's easier to stay married. We're like barely together, right? That's what she says anyway. She's giving me a dirty look right now. And the
Well, we just got married too early. Got married too soon, and she was still in high school, that type of thing, and just didn't work out. And I look back on it, and what it is what it is. But we're still friends, and got a great son. So
yep,
it all worked out. But
yep.
So you started working on cars. Were you working like at a shop?
yeah, I had a friend that had a small little shop. I mean, it was not much more than a 2-car garage, basically. And so dirt floor. So I worked in there, and did some engine work and some Ford tractor stuff. I worked on. I had a few Ford tractors in Germany that had cabs on them, and they were used for pulling tugs and ground support equipment and that kind of stuff around on the flat line. So I worked on them. So I worked on some farmers tractors. I worked on combines in the cold. This ain't gonna work. So, but we were about halfway between Kokomo, Indiana, and Lafayette. And Kokomo was known, well, everything up there during those days were highly industrialized. Vast majority of it is automotive. Delco, AC Delco or Delco Radio is out in Kokomo. Chrysler Corporation still has 4 or 5 transmission plants in Kokomo today. So there was a lot of those things, but you had to join the unions, and I was not a union guy. I just no. I had some friends that were, and they would go out on strike at the, back then they'd go out on strike for a dime, and these people would lose everything. I said, no, I'm not going to get involved in that. So I met Beverly, and in Kokomo, she lived there. She was a cosmetologist, hairdresser. And so we did it for quite a while. And she says, let's go down to see my mom and dad. And I says, where do they live? They're in Fort Worth, Texas. They manage apartments down there, a big apartment complex. I says, well, okay, because this is in January of 70. And so
you're thinking, well, there's no snow in Texas this time of the year.
So then there wasn't any jobs either. I mean, I was making $19 a week. That was it. That's all I could do to pay my child support. But anyways, so we went down there and we spent a couple of days. And so I opened up the Fort Worth Star Telegram and went to the classifieds in the back, and there was page after page after page of jobs. Good, non-union, I mean, stuff I'd like to do, that type of thing.
There's probably kids listening to this podcast that don't even know what a newspaper is.
Wait, what's a classified?
Yeah, what's a classified ad? Yeah.
But yeah. So we looked at that, and we stayed a couple of days and went back home. And we got married in March and packed up and moved to Fort Worth, Texas in May. My folks were, boy, they were mad. They because with everybody lives there. Everybody lives close.
We know exactly what you're talking about, where we're from in Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, it worked out. So we moved to Texas. Her grandmother had bought her a brand new mobile home. It's pretty nice. So we loaded everything we had in that mobile home, called a truck. They hauled it, and we met them here. Guys set it all up, and I went and got another Star Telegram paper, looked in there, and there was an ad that caught my eye. It says, Ford tractor mechanic needed, call this number. So I called the number. He said, well, when can you come up and, interview? I said, anytime. He said, well, come up in the morning and let's talk about it. So I went up there. This was on a Wednesday. Told him all about what my qualifications were, what I did in the military and what I worked on and all those kind of things. And he says, you're going to be working on commission. I says, okay. Can't be worse than what I already had. So he said, okay, you start tomorrow? I said, yes. So I started on Thursday and worked there for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Started out as a line mechanic, worked on mostly the small Ford stuff, the hydraulics and engines and transmissions and all that stuff. And then later I started doing a lot more of the industrial tractors. Fort Worth was just booming, and they were selling the loaders and box blade type tractors everywhere. So I worked on all those because when they came in from the factory in out of Romeo, all the loaders and all that stuff was not assembled. So we had to put everything, was like a jigsaw puzzle. You had to put it all together. So we would do that, get them all put together and set them out there on the front line so they could sell them. So and then in the later years, we started getting into the great big stuff, the big excavators and the road graders and all those type of things. So worked on all that as well. Hydraulic cylinders that you had to have a machine to take them apart. They were so big.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was interesting.
I'm sure you had the proper equipment to do that on a couple of the farms that I worked at. The farmers I worked for and grew up around, nobody had like the tractor place work on their stuff.
Yeah.
They might have bought parts from it and you did it all yourself. And the sheep farm, I remember we split, I think it was a international, split it and put a clutch in it or something.
Yeah.
And it's a wonder. I mean, that summer before, I remember somebody did that and it fell on them and killed them. And we're doing the same damn thing with blocks and like a cherry picker, no A-frame thing on a dirt floor. Like they've tore the building that was at Don Rogers' place. And it's like, I look back at some of that stuff that we did growing up on the farm, and it was like, we were not safe at all doing this. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why my dad ripped the thumb off. I don't know. So,
yeah, we didn't do much like that. We did, some minor things, but if Dad couldn't fix it with Bailey wire and a pair of pliers, it just wasn't a fixed that deal.
Yeah.
But we had a blacksmith shop not too far from us that, he helped with a lot of the plowshares and all those type of things that we'd have to have rebuilt and so forth. But something went drastically wrong. The tractor went into the dealer and get fixed.
So when you're working at this tractor place, were you interested in hot rods or drag cars or anything? Did you have any stuff like that, or do you just focus on the tractor world?
When I was still in military, when I got home from Germany, went back to Indiana, I needed a car because my little Chevy 2 got wrecked, and so I needed some kind of a car to take the family to California. So we went down, Dad and I went down to the local car dealer, and there was a 63 Chevy 2 station wagon, 4-cylinder, 3-speed on the tree, bare bones car, dime hubcaps, So we bought that car, loaded it up, drove to California. While I was in California, I'm an avid drag racer. I just loved it. And tell you more about that later, but so I had the opportunity to get a V8 engine out of we had what they call a hobby shop for all the guys and gals that wanted to work on their own cars and that kind of stuff. So I took my Chevy 2 wagon to the hobby shop, dropped a 265 V8 in it with 3-speed, and with a shifter, got a Hurst shifter, put it on the floor. And so that was my car. And I didn't race it until I got home after the military. There was a little drag strip called Bunker Hill, the oldest drag strip in Indiana. And it's still in operation today. But anyways, it was north of Kokomo, about 15 miles or so. So I would go up there and run factory experimental. Brought home several trophies. It was fun. So, but yes, so that's kind of where I got started and really got the bug. But when I was in Texas, in 71, I bought a Morris Minor pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 63 model, a 60 model Morris Minor pickup. I welded the front end together, made it a tilt front end, all sheet metal, 283 Power Glide. And that's what I raced. I raced D-gas at the local drag strip, which was Green Valley back in the day. And if the track was open, I was on it. And the only time I didn't race
About what year was this when you got the Model A?
That was in 82, 83, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, street rods were strong then. That's the
They were really coming on strong. So built it, and we had a little tent camper. We loved to go camping, so every year we'd go to Pueblo to the NSRA event in Pueblo, and put up, set the camper up, spend a week, and that's what we'd live in while we was going to the event and so forth. Because back then, I also from 83 to 94, I wore a shirt for NSRA. I was starting out with a red shirt inspector, ended up as a division director. And so I was heavily involved in street rodding. And in fact, I was working beside Gary Metters in 1983, the year that he split with NSRA, because he used to be an event director for NSRA. So that's how long. So he and I went back that far. But so I started, traveling around, and I was in Ohio. I said, I like this little car, but it's just not enough room because the seat was right down on the floor because it's been chopped, 4.5 inches, and I didn't have enough headroom. So I said, I got to get something a little bigger. So I had a friend.
You drove that thing everywhere, pulling a trailer with a blower motor.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
It's it had about 85,000, 90,000 on it when I sold it. From day one. But yeah, I had a BDS on it with 2 4s. Just something real simple, run great. Got 18, 19 miles a gallon. So not too bad. Had a 9-inch out of the Versailles, Lake of Versailles in the back to handle the power. Speaking of that, I took it one time to a rod run up in Arkansas, and they had a drag strip there. And so the whole thing was, run what you brung type thing. I said, no, I'm just going to go out there and have some fun with this thing, see what it'll do. So they were giving away, best reaction time and some different trophies. So I got up there. So I said, well, let's just see what kind of light I can cut. So I cut a 009
Nice.
and a 12 and won the trophy for that. And of course, I'm in the car, and when it launches, it really bit. And I don't know if the front wheels came off the ground or not, but I mean, only thing I could see were these people standing up and cheering. So it was fun. It was fun. But I needed something that just had some more room in it. So this friend of mine had a 39 Chevrolet. Two-door sedan car, real nice, orange. And I don't care. It didn't paint bad. It was, I mean, I like orange, but it was just rough. But so I bought that car, put a 350 in it, turbo, redid the interior, painted it red, had gray interior. And this is after I sold the Model A. And then I drove that car for years and years. In fact, that was what I pulled it when I first started Painless. That's what I pulled the Painless trailer with across country. And it's been
So up until this time, you're still working at the tractor dealer, tractor repairs, right?
yes. I'm still working in tractors. Now, in 1984, another thing I forgot to tell you about. When I was working at the tractor dealer as a mechanic, they also, we were getting our tractors in at the beginning. All our tractors came in on freight cars up on the north side of Fort Worth by the stockyards. So we'd have to go over to the freight yard, unload the tractors off the cars, and drive them over to the dealership and put them together. Well, later they started shipping them by truck, and half of them would come in damaged. Just this one guy chained it down with a chain over the hood. That's how you chain the tractor down. You can imagine what the tractors look like.
Yeah.
So we got to talking about it, and I had been driving. The company had a semi delivery truck like you'd see with some of these rental companies and that kind of stuff with the ramp type trailer. But I was doing some of that, and I says, why don't we just get us a road truck, go to Detroit, pick them up ourselves, and that way we know they're not going to get damaged, and we'll get them back when we want them, and that kind of stuff. So they did. In 1983, 82 or 83, we bought a 1980 CL9000. It's a cab over big Ford truck, Cummins powered, had a twin bed or a full size bed sleeper in it. So that's what I drove back and forth to Detroit about 80 times. So I've got over 500,000 miles in a big truck.
Wow.
So pretty diversified lifestyle. We're doing this and doing that. Then they finally took me off the road and made me service manager and I started that job in 85, something like that. But
so you started doing more runs. You were working with NSRA. When was the thought process coming that, hey man, I need to come up with wiring for these street rods?
Okay, when I built the Model A sedan, I had a friend of mine who worked with me at the tractor dealer. He says, let's had to wire this thing. He says, we can get some of those pieces of wire and stuff out of these English cars. They all have little bullet connectors that put, everything close together with little bullet connectors. I said, okay. So we did. We wired the whole car. They worked out really well. So next thing I know, I've got other people coming and said, hey, can you wire my car? And so I probably wired 20 or 30. The tractor did it for other people. And so there was a place that sells spools of wire, 100-foot spools, 200-foot spools, different colors, all kinds. So I would go there and I'd say, okay, how many colors do you have? They'd tell me, and I said, I want some of each. And that's where the color codes started coming in and so forth. So that made it real nice. And so I was doing that for several years. And then in '89, had a friend of mine. He says, I met a guy the other day, and he has a wiring harness company, and he's looking for somebody that can help him design and build wiring harnesses for hot rods. He says, would you be interested in talking to him? I said, yeah, why not? So I went over and met Jim, and what he was making at the time was wiring harnesses and speaker systems for the van conversion industry, which was booming back then. So, but he had no idea, nor did he have any employees that had any idea how to do something from scratch. So I said, okay. So the same guy that introduced me, he had a 37, what did it call them? Cabriolets, the 4-door car with the convertible roof on them. I believe, I think they were called cabs back then. But anyways, he had it, and it was just a hull, just a shell. Had an engine and all that stuff, but no interior whatsoever, no top. I says, okay, I want to borrow your car, and I'm going to make the first prototype that will fit that car. So that's what I did in late '89, and got it all installed. Of course, with no interior, you see all the wires running here, and you see all the wires running there. So it made a really good demonstrative type piece. So we brought it and put it in the Fort Worth Rod and Custom Car Show. It was an annual car show, kind of like Detroit Autorama, and all those type of things, just here at Fort Worth. And debuted it in March of 1990. And by this time, people were looking at it, and the next thing I know, I've just got more to do than I can get done. I'm still working at the tractor dealer. So I'm doing this on the side.
Was there anybody else doing this aftermarket wiring harnesses at that time?
Ron Francis was the only one.
Okay.
And another guy was dabbling in it. And his name was Dr. K. Kelton, David Kelton. So he was at Birmingham. Of course, Ron Francis was up in New Jersey, up in that part of the world, but Pennsylvania. But those were the only ones at that time. And they both built theirs to where it was a great big piece of wood with a whole bunch of connecting little strips, little screws in them that you connect wires to and so forth. Yeah. And the biggest problem that I had personally was, where am I going to mount this thing? Because it's Model A's and all these other cars, there's just no room underneath. So I was talking to Jim, and we decided, when we build the first prototype, we're going to use this fuse block right here. He had one. It was a GM fuse block out of a mid-'80s car, brand new that we could buy. Still use the same fuse block today. And so that's what I built the first prototype out of, because it was small, it was easy to mount, and with the other guys, you had to not only put all the wires to the fuse block, you also had to then run the wires back to the back, and or vice versa. So you had to hook up both ends of the wire. I says, there's got to be a better way. Let's just hook up one end of the wire. Let me do the work, figure out the best way to do it. But I wanted it where once you mount the fuse block, you're done under the dash, except for wiring the gauges and the rest. So that was my theory, and that's what started it all. So built that. So people said, well, that's pretty simple. And so I built 3 of them and took them to the Pate Swamp Meet in April. This is after the car show. Sold all of them in the first 3 hours. And then that year was the year where the Street Rod Nationals was in Columbus, Ohio. So I took 10 to Columbus, sold them all the first day. So that's how it all got started. And by that time, I was, as a service manager, my nerves were just about gone, because the bigger these machines are, the more people they have working around them. And if the machine's not working, the people aren't working. Yes, they're on my case. I need this tractor now, regardless of whether we can fix it or not. So I was the buffer between the customer and the mechanics and everybody else. And I got to do something. I got to get out of this mess. So that's when I decided, and Jim and I talked about it. I says, I'm going to come to work for you. So
What was Jim's last name?
Paxton, Paxton. So I went to work for Jim June 1st, 1990. Right after.
Was it called Painless from then? Then
it was called Weatherford Industries, because Jim was Weatherford, where I live too, and now, anyways. So it was called Weatherford Industries, and we had a place out on the west side of town, a little strip mall type building with we took up a couple different doorways and so forth. We had about 10 or 12 employees making harnesses for the band industry. Well, just as soon as we got things going halfway decent, the Gulf War broke out and everything stopped. I mean, it stopped. And couldn't sell a van harness for nothing. I was still making the ones that I was making, still selling them, but it was not enough wasn't enough to keep the company going. So the banker called us in and he says, okay, here's what we're going to do. He says, I can't think. This was in late October. We called us in. He says, okay, I'm going to keep you afloat. Tell your vendors that you can't pay them, but you will pay them as soon as you can. But we'll make sure of that. So we did that. And he says, there's 2 things you got to do. Number 1, change your phone number and change your address. 3 things: change your phone number, change your address, and change your name. So then we started doing searching for names. And Jim wanted to call it Precision Performance Products, but we couldn't get that. So it came up as Perfect Performance Products. And so that's what we incorporated it in November of 1990. And that was so we changed it from Weatherford Industries to Perfect Performance, moved out of that strip mall into a different one up on the freeway, and started out in a little 1,200 square foot single walk-in door, single roll-up door type place that you'd see in a rental, like a storage place or whatever. That's where we started in that. Kept the employees, was building building harnessing, and we were. It was pretty tough. When I left the tractor dealer, they had a profit sharing plan, and so I had a few $1,000s in the bank. So that's what we lived on until we could get enough harnessing out the door to pay more than just the rent, and pay more than just electricity and so forth and so on.
Did you change what you were making at this time? Because you said the van stuff kind of fell off. Was this when you were focusing mostly on street rod harnesses then, or the vans were a little bit? Or?
We totally changed focus to the street rod stuff, not the van stuff. So the very first harness, which we still make today, so we were making it, and then I was taking that same thought process and I was making other harnesses that were using a different fuse block or different lengths of wire, maybe some different color codes. So, that's when I started. I don't remember, one of my friends had a Jeep. So I said, I'll figure out a way I'll rewire this Jeep and that'll be another part number. So we started out with, I don't know, 10 or 15 part numbers in the next year, so to speak. And then hired a young guy that was pretty good with harnessing and designing stuff. So let's take this. I've got my 39, and so I said, let's take the carburetor off the 39 and let's put a throttle body on it and make a harness to make it work out of a throttle body off a pickup truck. So we did that. Still make that harness today. So I put it on there, and my fuel mileage went up 25%. So that made a big help, when one travels across country and so forth. So that's how we started in the fuel injection business. Gosh, just different cars, different.
Which, I was a young hot rodder at that time. I graduated in '89, and there's fuel injection now in hot rods. And they're like, oh, the old guys, it's never going to last. This is a flash in the pan. Like when I bought my first 17-inch wheels, the guy made me promise that I wouldn't tell him where the 17-inch wheels come because he didn't want to be known as selling these fad wheels. Well, fuel injection was kind of like that at first, right?
Yes, it was. Street Performance was the only, Mark was the only one that was making any harnesses like that at all. They didn't run very. He was doing some tune port stuff, and which we ended up doing as well. But he was trying to make him look too nice, and he was not putting all the sensors and everything that was required to make it work right. So a lot of people would take his off and put ours on because it's not as pretty, but it'll make it run right, and it did. So, yeah, it was quite a challenge in the early days, but they threw it.
Yeah.
So
when did the 39 go away? Or do you still have the 39?
No, I sold it to a friend. I was pulling this trailer. It's a single axle trailer, bright yellow. I'm going to say it was probably about a 10-foot. Opening doors, one door on the side and opening doors in the back. But anyways, I was pulling it with the 39, and I says, it's a pain in the drain, this thing here. Why do I want to go to a hotel and I got to find a place to park the trailer, got to do this, I said, I need a vehicle. I can put everything in the back of it and go. And so in 1993, I bought a pile of pieces, and that's all it was. Nothing was assembled. Original 36 Ford panel truck. The only thing original was still assembled was the drivetrain. And so I bought it, brought it home, and I had a friend that was making Mustang 2 front ends down in South Texas. I said, Pete, if I bring you this chassis, will you put me one of them front ends you're making underneath this thing? Make where it'll drive and steer and all that. Get rid of that axle and stuff. He says, yep. So we did that. We put a little 8-inch Ford rear end under it and built the body. Had to get a firewall out of a car because we didn't have a firewall. So I got a firewall out of a car. I mean, it was in pieces. We welded it all together. Next thing you know, we had a truck. Finished it in 95. Its maiden run was Knoxville. Knoxville, 95. And it had 12 miles on it. And so we took off. I says, well, I'm going to take the trailer because it's got a bunch of stuff in it and just make sure that everything will work. Well, truck did great, except I didn't engineer the shock brackets right, and I broke both shocks off in the rear, broke a couple springs, didn't have enough springs. So we spent 2 extra days in Knoxville after the show was over getting the truck fixed so we could get that going. But then, so the 39 went away just before that. So when I first had the 36 done, a 39 went away. And as you know, I've been driving a 36 ever since.
How many miles does that have on it now?
As of today, 286,000.
Yeah, it's almost 300,000. So you've seen this, the painless rig people everywhere, from power tours to in the hotel parking lots at all these events. And it's the only other guy that I think has maybe driven a panel truck more is Dennis O'Brien.
Dennis has got, he and I were talking about that this past Street Rod Nationals, and he's got a little over 300,000 on his. So he's ahead of me a little bit. But
you can catch him because his isn't back together yet, I don't think. He had a little mishap on that.
Yeah, but another quick little story for you. So I'm in the panel truck and I'm coming out of Knoxville. This was several years later. This is probably back, 90s, in the early 2000s, probably. Got a CB radio in there. Everybody, back then, that's what everybody, all of us had it. Because when we traveled in groups, my friend Bob, he'd get in the back and we'd, make sure everybody was, well, Joe's got to get off, go to the bathroom or whatever, that type of thing. So, anyways, so I'm coming out of Knoxville, and I'm sure you do the same thing, but I always look at the weather because I'm going to have to go through Nashville and Memphis, or I'm going to have to cut down to Birmingham and go across, depending on what the weather was. Well, there was a whole bunch of storms in Memphis that day. I said, okay, I'm going to go down. I'll take, 75 or whatever it is down to Birmingham and go across 20. So I'm coming down, and I just got on, 465 or whatever that where you don't go through downtown Birmingham. That, anyways, the bypass.
Mm-hmm.
And my radio lights up, and I see these 2 big trucks coming. They're down there quite a ways. He says, "Wow, look at that old truck coming up on us, on the other side." And the other guy comes up and he says, "Yeah, that's that Painless guy. He drives that thing all over the country." True story.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I thought, yep. Thanks, guys. Be careful out there, this type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Because
amazing.
it's yellow and it's got the logo on the side, so people remember it. They do.
Yeah. So I just finished my 73 square body dually, and it's bright yellow, same color, chrome yellow. And that's my colors.
Yeah. So are you guys not driving the panel truck as much as you used to now?
Well, I drove it to the office here this morning, but I'm getting to the age where going to these events, I still love them, but my body says, no, it's time you stay home for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm not near as much. Not
What is the drivetrain in the panel truck currently?
It's got a 5-liter Mustang 5.0
Hmm.
with a 4R70W overdrive and a 8.8 out of an Explorer.
Mm-hmm.
So all wheel disc brakes, automatic, heat and air. Still got the single wiper. Got the aftermarket custom seat in it, so forth. So it does pretty good. Gets 18 to 20 miles per gallon, depends on
Mm-hmm.
wind and so forth. But it's a brick, flat windshield. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun. It still gets a lot of attention. A lot of attention. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And it's different driving a panel truck. I learned that pretty quickly when we did that Royal Purple panel truck
Oh yeah.
that my buddy Noel actually bought out of Houston. I'm taking all the purple off of it for him now. And it, like the first time I drove through Nashville in that thing, people were honking at me and flipping me off because I realized I couldn't see out the passenger side. You know, I tried all these different mirrors on that thing and I still couldn't see. So finally I put these little West Coast semi mirrors on them, not big full mirrors, but these tall ones with the convex on the bottom. And it's like, well, it's a panel truck. It can have big mirrors on it. I can see going down the road in that thing. And between me and Noel, we've put 20,000 miles on that thing now. So
You
Split them
have
up.
one giant blind spot.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so everybody that gets in it, you know, I say, how do you see out of this thing? I said, you just got to learn. You just got to learn. You got to trust what you see.
No.
Yep.
And you might get honked at and flipped off every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened. But,
Yeah.
But it's still
So-
fun.
So through the years, how many locations has Painless been through the years of growing? I mean, we've taken a tour. Was it 2 years ago? We were on Carrie's Cars and Cones, which we're getting
It's
ready to
been
do our Cars and
3
Cones in
or 4
Alabama
years.
coming up, and totally blown away on the place. And I knew you guys did a lot in house, but I was really blown away on how much you guys do. And when you don't do it, you outsource in town. You try to get stuff in town. And so how many building moves have you done through the years of running Painless?
Well, when we, like I said earlier, we were in that 1,200 foot square foot thing when we first started. We expanded in that same complex 5 times. Ended up with 6 of the sections.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we run out of room there, and we moved. We bought an old AT&T service center building,
Mm-hmm.
and what it was just like a giant carport that you could probably park 25 trucks under, that type of thing. And it had a building attached to it, but it was open all the way around. There was no sides on the where they parked the trucks. It was just a big awning. So we bought that, and then put sides on the building, and we went. That was about 15,000 square feet that we had actual shop space plus offices. At this time, we're probably got about, oh gosh, probably close to 30 employees. This was in the 90s, mid 90s, because we didn't move out of there until we moved into this building here, where you've been, and we moved into here in 2004. So
Okay.
we had 15,000 square feet there, and then we have 43,000 square feet here.
How many employees do you have now there?
Right now, I think we've got 58.
Wow.
We had, at one time, we had about 80. We were making harnessing for General Motors. We were making some Corvette harnesses and so forth. But that didn't last long, nor did, so we had to lose a bunch of employees. But
So you mentioned that, and like not only hot rod stuff, but like you just said you used to do some stuff for GM. What other outsourced for companies have you done stuff? Like I was surprised the one year we toured Willwood Disc Brakes, and they had an area they did all the brakes for those little John Deere Gators are Willwood brake systems that they make for John Deere. So what through the years, what have you done other than GM Corvette harnesses?
We tried, we call that job shop work, and we tried some of it. Most of it didn't pan out well because, people want you to quote it. So we quoted, oh, you're too high.
Mhm.
Well, so you spend hours and hours and hours getting everything ready for a quote, and then it's flushed down the toilet.
Yeah.
So we got away from most of that. We still do some small stuff. I have a couple transmission shops. We make pigtails for 700 R4s and those type of things. We make a lot of wiring and so forth that low car uses and all their, their headlight wiring kits and those type of things. So there's a few companies that we make some stuff for.
So I remember speaking of fuel injection earlier, when I did my first LS swap, well, the car was done, it was a Riviera. It was an LS1. And at that time, if in my mind, sometimes my mind gets cloudy, I blame paint fumes. There was only 3 people making LS harnesses then, and I used your guys's harness. You said Street and Performance. You guys, and I don't remember who the other one was that was
Howell.
making LS. That was, huh?
Howell. The guy's name is Howell. Up in
Yeah.
He made
I used the harness in that first LS swap.
Mhm.
The LS swaps were hard back then because nobody was making brackets for all you had to use find either the Corvette or the Camaro stuff, and whatever you found at the oil pans, that was it. Nobody made aftermarket. Man, the markets came. So all your time that you've been in street routing and hot rodding, what do you call, you weren't in it in the 50s. People, they glamorize the 50s hot rodding, say that was the glory days. I have an era that I was involved in that I call the glory days of hot rodding. Are we in the glory days now, or do you see a time as like, oh, when the pre-48 stuff was huge, was that your favorite? What was your glory days of hot rodding?
Probably those days, the 70s and 80s. That was the biggest thing going on.
To me, I like the 80s into 90s, early 2000s, when I started paying attention to it more. I loved the Boyd era, the smoothie billet stuff, the anodized parts. That's what I really liked. And then, used to like Chuck Lombardo. Unfortunately, we can't get him on the podcast. He passed a few years ago. I was on an advisory board with him, and he was talking about him and his buddies. He was either Street Rodder or Rodden Custom, was one of the first guys to show a how-to article on going to the junkyard to get that Mustang 2 cross member out and adapt it into the street rod. And now there's a million companies making Mustang 2 stuff. And now you can buy full chassis from all these companies. Did you ever think that you would see that? Like you said, your buddy, he was making Mustang 2s. And now you can call up a dozen people today on the phone, and in a handful of months, you'll get a brand new chassis with brakes, motor mounts, everything. I think it's incredible, and it helps the home builder. We can order everything that we need now. Did you ever think you'd see that?
I don't think so, but then on the other side of the equation, I'm not surprised.
Because obviously you made your living off of hot rod parts, so you've seen the future in manufacturing and people buying the stuff.
Yep. The enthusiast, what's the old saying? Invention is the mother of necessity, or whatever that said. And that's what it was. I mean, back in the 50s and 60s, when I was doing some stuff, when I built my first hot rod back in 63, my 33 3-window coupe, I went to Wrecking Yard just to find a switch, so I know a starter button or whatever. There was nothing. Speedway had a few items when I built my T-bucket in the early 70s, but it's nothing like it is today.
I remember I used not a painless harness, probably because I had no money, my buddy Joe that taught me some wiring stuff. He brought a harness we put in my 54 Chevy when it was first built in the way early 90s, 93 probably bought the harness.
2 or 3, yeah.
All the wires were black.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the wires were black. There was writing on them that I would not be able to read now without glasses. But it's like I took that harness out and put a painless in that. My 54 still has a painless harness in that. Then we redid it in the early 2000s. I took all that black wire out and threw it away. Yeah. And yeah, that's crazy to think about it. That was all the same color wires.
Yeah, it's you know, my good friend Bobby Alloway. He
probably likes all black wires because he likes everything black. Yeah.
That's what he does. Whatever the color of the car is, that's the color of the wiring that's going to be in it. That's his thing. And you know, I've been to his shop and
so he seriously puts all black wires in his car now, still today.
When I was there, that's what he was doing. A few years ago, but yeah,
we're getting ready to have Bobby on the podcast. We're going to ask him that question. So.
Yeah, but he was using our little, fuse block with the wire things on the side, the wire strips, making his own harness one wire at a time, plugging it in.
Yeah,
I assume he's still doing that. I don't know, but
I don't think Bobby none of us like change, but I think Bobby likes change less than anybody else does. So I would assume Bobby's still doing, and it works for Bobby. Bobby is one of my hot rod heroes, definitely, and we're looking forward to having him soon on the podcast.
I like him a lot. He's
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good people.
So what is your biggest part number mover currently?
Currently, number one is it's a little universal harness. Got the small fuse block. It's 10202. When we make a work order to decide on how many harnesses we need to make that work order for, if it's a Jeep harness or LS harness or whatever it is, we look at it and say, okay, if we make 50 of these at a time, or do we make 100 of them at a time, or how many do we make to make sure that we've got enough on hand and not put too much on the shelf. At that particular harness, the 10202, we were making 800 at a time.
Oh, geez. I think that's what's in your Corvair.
It's just a little universal harness, little square fuse block.
Yeah.
And the design is exactly the same way I did the very first one in 1990.
Nice. How many part numbers do you currently have?
About 550, I think. So
what is the weirdest thing you're selling now that you never thought when you're just a street rod guy? Like you say, you do Jeeps. Are you doing stuff for Porsches and more import tuner cars and early Toyotas? Or what is the stuff that you're doing that is like, there's no way I ever thought I'd be doing that? I'm not a Jeep guy, but I understand now that we live in Tennessee, the Jeep market is huge. So you probably do really good.
Jeep market is probably number 5 in sales.
Yes.
The universal harness is number 1. There's a couple of them, and then the square body and C10 harnesses are right there. You can imagine.
We just seen a couple of your guys had a booth up. We went to the C10 Nationals up here in Nashville. There were 1,1600 trucks. They said it looked like more. And spectators, I mean, and it's started at C10, but it's Chevy trucks. They let OBSs and come, but 90% are C10s.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous how big that market is right now.
Yeah, and we have the biggest one here in Fort Worth at Texas Motor Speedway every year.
Yeah.
C10s, and it's 2,500 or 3,000 trucks.
No,
so, yeah, it's crazy, but I hear people putting our harnesses in all kinds of things. So
yeah, when you're Universal, you go out the door, you don't know what they're putting them in. They might be putting them in Porsches and stuff.
I got a call from Stacy David 3 weeks ago. He says, I've got an early Datsun 240 or 260, whatever those Z cars were back then. He says, I need a small harness for that. I said, well, we used to sell, I don't remember the part number off the top of my head now. We had a small one, had a real tiny little fuse block that we sold a lot of those to people for that car.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure. But it fit great in the console glove box, and just run the wires out. There
But
you
you
go.
sold a bunch after he used one on his show.
No, this is all we sold a lot of those
Okay.
back in the 10, 15 years ago.
Because he gets, I know he gets a lot of credit. I don't think he gets enough credit for the things that he has done as long as he's been doing TV. And we was at that C10 show and we were talking, I'm not going to say who we were talking to. They were still talking about his Copperhead C10 truck.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's been, I don't know how long that's been. 18, 20 years ago they built that.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
over
Well,
15, because we've been in Tennessee now for 13, 14 years. And nobody was building C10. I mean, there were, but not like that. And people still remember that. They still want that color code. People are still we're going to build a Copperhead. You know what they're talking about. And I kind of give Stacy David the nod to he lit that C10 spark. I really do.
yeah, I'll tell you, he and I have been good friends for a long time, just like y'all.
No, he's a great guy. Him and his wife are both excellent, great people.
Great folks, and I always look forward to going up there and doing stuff with him. And if he's got a question, he calls me, and vice versa.
You been to his new place yet?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was up there last year. I went up and did his podcast there, and yeah, he's got a great place. So
Yeah.
I keep waiting for him to call and say, "Hey, I need you as a special guest." But he's one that's going to be on. He's got family that lives in our town, so sometime when he's down, he's just going to come into the house and do the podcast with us. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I went up there. Jan and I went up there last year and did a podcast, and then did a little sightseeing downtown and stuff like that.
We recorded, I don't know, hour. He keeps it less than we do. We just let him go. And then I think we were hour and a half. He put it out in 2 sections. And then after the camera stopped rolling, we hung out for 2.5 hours telling stories because we both worked at the power block, not at the same time. So we were talking about that and traveling and doing all this stuff. So yeah, just a great guy.
Yeah, he and I and Jan went to lunch, and I think it was a 4-hour lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
I
very
haven't been
passionate.
to his shit
Yeah, you didn't go with me.
because
Yeah.
we did Cars and Cones stop there, and then they moved that
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
at another event.
A lot of great people in our industry. Very blessed. Very blessed.
So a lot of people in the industry, they really had, like, I know people that's been running like mom and pop suspension companies for 30 years in the hot rod industry. And they set records during the years that we don't like to talk about COVID. But a lot of people were stuck home. So they were working in their garages and they were buying pieces and parts. Did you guys see a big jump in sales during COVID when people were home working?
Our sales went up. They went up 20%
Oh, wow.
overall. So it's slowly coming back down to about normal now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen that in the BMX industry. You know, people will talk. I listen to BMX podcasts, and when schools weren't doing sports, so kids got outside and bought bicycles, and you couldn't get bicycles, you know, quality bicycles. Well, then they ordered, like, thinking this was going to stay, and now it's kind of coming back to normal standards. Like the same thing, the bicycle industry and BMX in particular has seen over 20% spike, and you couldn't even get stuff. You were waiting 2 or 3 months for a new frame or a set of tires for quality stuff, and now warehouses are full again. They're not empty. So
Yeah, we went through the exact same thing. We had nothing on the shelf, and because everything was closed down, we couldn't get anything to build anything with.
yeah, I stopped buying direct from my dealers because they didn't have stuff. That's when I learned. I was calling Rex and Annette at Affordable because they always had like a standing order of so many of this harness, so many of this AC unit, and so many of this steering column. So they'd never have 50 to 100, but they always had that. So I would just call them, and usually they had what I needed. And I didn't remember there was an AC line kit that they're like, "Oh man, we can't get that for you for at least 5 weeks," and I needed it. Well, Rex had 2 left on the shelf, so I just bought them from them. So
Yep. I used to do the same thing whenever I was working on something. So we made a deal with Summit Racing to stock every part that we make.
Mhm.
And in doing so, if somebody calls in here and they need a part, we don't sell anything, direct to the consumer here. We're just strictly a manufacturer. So everything goes through the dealer network. But if somebody calls in and they need a part, then we'll take the order, but Summit will fulfill the order.
Mhm.
We made that deal. Well, we've had several other people come to us and say, we'd like to have that same deal. No problem. Here's what you got to do. You got to stock every part we have, and you've got to have at least 4 warehouses across the country.
Wow.
And so far, Summit's the only one. Speedway is starting to step up. They're doing really well. And we some of the major warehouses are doing really well. And they're the ones that fulfill Walmart.com, Amazon, those types of stuff. We don't, because we don't always have it on the shelf. And if Amazon or Walmart calls and wants parts, you got to have it, or you're so.
I just think that's crazy. Amazon's one thing, but you can buy stuff. Like I knew somebody that bought a crate motor off the Walmart because they had a deal on it. Something is like you can buy stuff from Walmart.com that I would never think you would buy at Walmart.
And get free shipping.
Yeah.
So things have really changed.
Yeah.
Really changed since COVID. So
So I have 2 questions for you.
okay.
First one is, what is your favorite event that you like to go to? And the second one is, what event have you never been to that you would love to go to?
My favorite event is Street Rod Nationals, Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Been to every national since 1983.
Nice.
I don't know why. I just like going there. Convenience of the hotel across the street and all that kind of stuff. The building is a beautiful building, cool. Just my favorite.
That's one of my favorites that I go to every year. Like a lot of times, me and my buddies, we have a go-kart night, and there's a couple of restaurants we like to go to, and of course, I always love the cruising, which they've killed the cruising there because idiots cause trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all the vendors are there. If you can't make it to SEMA, you need to go to Louisville because all the vendors are there, and more mom and pop vendors are there than can afford to go to SEMA.
Yeah. For it's one, gosh, I've been to so many. Not too many left, but
have you been to the Gathering of the Rock yet?
No.
Yeah, I'm not been. That's this
Is
coming
in Oklahoma.
Yeah, everybody really likes that when they go. They keep it small. They not really curate but you kind of have to be traditional styled car to be able to come to that.
Yeah. So I always wanted to go to Detroit to the Woodward cruise.
Oh,
Mhm.
And I always wanted to go to Mobile for the cruising the coast.
Cruising the coast. I think Kenny and Angela
Been
Davis
down both highways,
Yeah.
in Detroit and Mobile several times, but I've never been there during the event.
We've only done Woodward once. You kind of slept in the car because that's when you first did your first roadkill drag race on Woodward. I was let down with it. Yeah, the crowds are ridiculous, but there's not as many. The day I was there, there's not as many hot rods and stuff cruising. Yeah, they're parked in parking lots, and I went to where Jerry Dixie had his, gathering for Street Rod or Road Tour, and I went to the Mopar collection and stuff. But now I hear more good things about cruising the coast. A lot of people that go to cruising the coast, they never miss cruising the coast anymore. Like Kenny, for years, he didn't go to a lot of rod runs or nothing, and he was always went to cruising the coast. They just love that event. So
we did it last year. Eric went down there and set up a booth and so forth, and it was okay. It wasn't great at all. He said, but if you want to see cars and cruise, he said it's a cool place.
Yeah,
And
when
I
it's
think
cruising like that, it's hard to be at a place with a vendor where you think everybody's going to come see you. Probably.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like Woodward or Hot August Nights. Everything's spread out so far that it's not like Louisville where it's pink. It's there.
We've never been to Hot August Nights either.
Nope. Nope.
My buddy Chuck goes every year though. He loves that event.
Yeah, well, we didn't go this year. We're starting to change up a lot of our shows to where we do it every other year, just to spread out, see new people.
Yeah.
So we always look forward to, Good Guys or NSRA or some new show that we can go to that never been to before. Like this year, we went to Good Guys Loveland, first time ever.
Mhm.
It turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to bring up. This wasn't even on my. We have no questions. This is all just natural. Hot Rod Power Tour window decals.
Oh,
So Carrie runs part of the crew that runs the registration.
thank God.
So all the Hot Rod Power Tour people, you are not guaranteed a sticker. Painless has always done that as the goodness of their heart to put their name on and give out stickers. And
As
we
a
have seen
gift.
grown as a gift. Not you are guaranteed this. And we've seen grown men cry over those windshield stickers, haven't
I
we?
know I've been called every name you can imagine.
Yeah.
Me too. I've been spit in my face.
Yeah.
Yep. By a grown man. Yeah. Although some people do act immature and ridiculous, it's very appreciative, and I'm hoping that the folks at Hot Rod have thanked you over and over and over again. But to everybody that doesn't know, they do that out of the goodness of their heart as a sponsor.
And you do. It is good
It is.
advertising because you do
It
see them
is.
everywhere. Because you're like be driving just someplace and it's like, oh, there's a Power Tour sticker and it's got the Painless Power Tour, Hot Rod Power Tour sticker, and so it's good advertising for you. But people get a little crazy on what do you call that now that they think they're entitled. The entitlement is a little, and it's not all the younger kids. It's a lot of older people too. It is a lot of the older people.
Yeah.
But we still get people call for them after each event. And if we have anything left over, like as you know, Carrie, we have some sometimes. And here's the sticker. It's going to cost you $17 for shipping and so forth. We send out a lot of them still today.
Yeah.
We got a lot of them from years and years. I just found a package that was stuck in one of my cabinets at home from 2010. There must be 75 in there.
You need to put them babies on eBay. They would sell.
It's crazy the way people act over us. But yeah, adults act very.
They did the same thing over the magnets that Holly used to do, the magnet things. And Holly don't do the magnets anymore.
No.
They'd come by our place. What magnets do you have this year? I said, no, you're at the wrong booth.
Yep. Crazy. It's crazy. But I personally thank you from the bottom of my heart because you providing them does give us a little bit of ease until we run out or we run low. But I think we've came up with a good plan over the last couple of years. And
I helped this year with the VIP thing where we were checking in, and some people are like, oh, I get this in my pocket. So some people don't know it's big of a deal. There's still chill people out there. And they're like, oh, I thought I had to buy these extras. It comes in your thing.
Well, it's a gift
until they run out, or
this is a gift. That's how we always say
it's not a guarantee.
Gift from Painless.
Yeah.
So, yep.
And if we got anything left over, we'll pass them out till they're gone.
Yep.
Just part of the deal.
So you've put all these miles on the panel truck. Is there another vehicle that you'd ever like? Oh, I've always wanted a Deuce Roadster, or a '55 Chevy, or I want a Jeep. Is there anything in Dennis's mind that you would like to have as a toy? Could be a motorcycle, could be an off-road buggy. I don't care. Is there anything that you like? Oh, I've always wanted this that I've never had.
Well, there is one car that I wish I had back.
Yeah.
That's my '56 convertible.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, I grew up on Tri-5s. My dad has Tri-5. We went to prom in my dad's '56 Nomad. So
But when I'd come home on leave, my uncle, my mom's brother, had a '59 Corvette Roadster
Mhm.
and a little 283 automatic car. And he would let me drive that, to go up cruising in Kokomo, see, have fun with. So Corvettes are cool, but I can't get in and out of them. So
Yeah.
they're not that cool.
Yeah. My first shop I worked at in high school was a Corvette place. I still wouldn't mind having them. I like to work on them, but I've never had one for myself. Never have.
But I was, you know, as a drag racer at heart, I was one of the top fuel car, run a
Yeah.
top fuel car. I worked on one, nostalgia
Have you
car.
ever sponsored a drag car at the big NHRA races? Has Painless ever been or associate on?
We sponsored several different cars, Super Comp, Super Gas,
Mhm.
those type of things. Uh, uh, Scotty and Edmund Richardson sponsored them. Les Figueroa, John Spar, some racing names from back in the day. We did that, and I don't. Did you know I had a front motor car for a long time?
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
I was like, I was in the early 2000s. I was working. My banker, Jim Cullen, had a fuel car, and I would go with him on the weekends and wrench on the fuel car with him. And Lance and I, my son, and I we would do all the head work at night. We'd run the car during the day, and then at night we take the heads off, relap the valves, all that kind of stuff. And I did that countless and countless of nights and so forth. So, and one day I was in Jim's shop. He was here in Fort Worth, and I looked in there, and up in the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling, is a complete chassis for a front motor fuel car. So I says, wonder if I could buy that. He says, yeah, Terry's got it for sale. I bought the chassis, had slicks on it, the spoke wheels in the front, steering. The only thing it needed was it had a 9-inch chrome 9-inch rear end housing in it, no pig. But so I bought all that, took it home, and had a friend of mine up in Oklahoma that was building racing engines at the time. So we got a Dart block. It's a 350 Chevrolet block. Racing head, service heads, and comp cams, and 871 with a hat. Had EFI fuel injection on it, and that was my front motor car.
Did you run it or just do cackles or did you just run it?
I just run it. It was fun. It's a 5-second car,
Oh, cool.
and 8th mile. So it's all 8th mile stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't run fuel. I just run 115 gasoline in it. It was
See, I want one. I know I can't afford a race car either, but I want something like that, old race car, old funny car body, just to hang on my shop wall because I got a big, tall shop. I just would love that.
Yeah, and I got so I wasn't comfortable in it, so I had another guy drive it for a while, and you get a car like that, you got to have a crew. You can't go out with one guy or whatever. You got to have 4 or 5 guys, and it just got to be so hard. And when drag strips are all closed up around here, and I said, so it sat there in my showroom for a year. I didn't like fired up every once in a while just to hear it run. But I told Jan, I says, there's no need of having a trophy sitting in here. But that was the one thing I always wanted all my life with that car.
Cool.
Nice.
If I ever win the lottery, I'm going to have a drag car. I don't know what, but it'll be some kind of a drag car.
Yeah. So my current project, I don't think you've seen yet, but and it's been finished for a couple of years. I've got a '66 Chevy 2 wagon. It's got a 6-liter LS engine with stack injection, 9-inch for 410 gears, ladder bars from chassis engineering out of Florida, the sliders, everything just like it was in the 60s.
Hmm.
And M&H slicks on the back, and 10-spoke wheels in the front, radar wheels or whatever they're called,
Mm-hmm.
and straight axle.
Oh, cool.
And the stacks, I made all the stacks come up through the hood,
Mm-hmm.
just like all that. So that's my current project. That's what I have fun with now, anyway.
Yeah. You run that some, do you?
I drive it. I've never been out on track.
Yeah.
Lance came down. Oh, he was here a few months back, anyways. And I said, you ever had a ride in the Nova? He said, no. I said, okay, come on, let's go. So where I live out in the country, I'm on a dead end road, and there's houses, but there's about a quarter-mile stretch at the end. There's a circle, a quarter-mile stretch. And so we drove, up around the school and back around, back to the house. I said, okay, let's go all the way to the end of the road, make the circle. So we did. And I says, okay, get yourself lined up straight, so you're looking straight down the street. And I says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to, when I tell you, just put the pedal to the floor for 2 seconds. That's all, just 2 seconds. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, got him all lined up. I says, okay, hit it. And that thing, those M&Hs, they're so soft they don't spin.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes up like this. You're up for a second, and then you come back down, and his eyes are about this big around. And he says, wow, I had no idea. It's got a 4L60 transmission in it, and if you're familiar with those, they have a real low first gear, because a lot of those transmissions are used in small V6s and stuff, so it makes it a little easier for the smaller engine to get the car going. Well, when you put it behind an engine like that, that's making God awful knows what kind of horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
I hit the rev limiter before it shifted. So, and then of course when it does, it hits really hard, because I had Phoenix transmission, built the transmission for it,
Mm-hmm.
race and so forth. But so, anyways, it's every time somebody comes over, I say, "Want to go for a ride?"
We need to go back and go for a ride.
I know,
We
right?
need to go for a ride.
You need to come for a ride. So
Yep.
that's my drag car now, but it's a street legal drag car.
Perfect.
Just exactly the way it was back in the 60s.
So we've talked almost 2 hours now.
Yeah.
I told you to get a water before, because these start to get to go a little bit. So anybody you need to thank before we wrap this up?
Well, the industry itself I've been very blessed.
Mm-hmm.
So many nice people. There's a lot of people that helped me along the way that most of them aren't here anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, Vernon Walker, Minnesota's gone, and Chuck Lombardo, and a lot of people like that's helped me along the way. But the guy that really stands out the most to me was Tex Smith. Remember Tex
Mm-hmm.
Smith?
Yep.
Just a quick story about Tex and me.
I have a lot of his books, probably duplicates of some, but yeah, big Tex Smith fan.
Yeah. Well, in the October issue of 1990, if you have that one, and looks like a car out, roadster out on the Bonneville Salt Flats or something on the front cover. Some guys standing around it. Anyways, Tex called me after I got started. This was in 1990. He says, "Hey, I hear you got yourself in the wiring business." I said, "Yeah, I sure did." And he says, "I'm building $1 a pound roadster." You probably
Mhm.
seen that car.
Mhm.
He says, "I need a wiring harness for it." He says, "If you'll send me a wiring harness for my car, I'll give you a full page ad in my next book." And I think, man, that's pretty good. I like that a lot.
Mhm.
So I sent it to him. Sure enough, I got that edition I was just telling you about. And there's several pages of story that a friend of mine, Dave McNerlin, had written and furnished a text about some, different, we were installing a wiring harness in a Model A sedan and different pictures and so on. But towards the back, I finally got to the page. And at the top of the page, it said painless wiring. And it's been painless wiring ever since. That's how we got the name.
Awesome.
So,
It's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I bought a book. There's always a guy that comes to Louisville every year and has some stuff. I shouldn't say because then people might beat me to it. Someplace that he sells stuff, and he has books sometimes, like his buddy's estate stuff or whatever. And I was like, oh, I have a lot of the Tex Smith books because I'm a big print and book collector. And I didn't have any hardbound books that Tex. I've never seen a hardbound Tex Smith book. And I forget even which one it is. And so I was like, oh, I think I want this. It was like $15. Well, I open it when I get back to my room that night. It's signed by Tex Smith.
Wow.
Yeah. There's to somebody, whoever bought the book from me back then. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So I have a bunch of the kids again that watch this, listen to this, that don't know what a newspaper was, used to have to buy books. Like I bought all these books, how to chop tops, wore those out. And, suspension books, and wore those out. And I built a whole suspension by blowing up pictures out of the Boyd Coddington chassis book. And there was no Google back then. You got your tech articles in the magazines, and you bought how-to books from a few people. And that's how my generation learned stuff that we didn't know how to do. And if there was nobody local that we could ask or bother, that's what we did. And that's what number one I do. And it's like, I got this young guy Hunter that calls me almost every day. He's 26 years old. I was like, dude, I give him a list, buy this book, and this book. And he has. And then he'll still ask me questions. I go back to that book and read it. I make him learn like I'm a teacher. Like I'm not just going to give him the answer. It's like, you got to do some homework to do it, because we had to do that. But yeah, if you want great tech books, the Tex Smith ones, man, you just can't beat them.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, lots of people along the way, just countless. It's countless of people.
Well, we want to thank you, Dennis, of what you've done for the industry. Always great stuff. The instruction manual was always the best of anybody's wiring harnesses. If you read them, you can understand them. And I'm not the best at wiring. I don't enjoy wiring. But if you read the books, and if I ever had any questions, your guys, as tech guys, were second to none, no matter who you called at different companies. If you had, distributor problems at another company, the tech guys that you always had at Painless they're great. Mm-hmm. They don't make guys like me feel dumb when we had to call, is what I'm saying. They would help me and talk me through my problem. And I was like, oh, they didn't say you were an idiot because you put the orange wire where you weren't supposed to. But yeah.
They were thinking it. They just didn't say
thinking it. Yeah.
Well, I'm like you. I built countless cars over the years and helped other people build them. And you get a part in and it comes with one page, no pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It's been mimeographed 14 times and, copied and recopied and can't hardly read it. There is no excuse for not having good instruction manual.
Yeah.
So if we hire a guy in to work on engineering or whatever, that's the first thing I'm going to tell him. I says, we make a good product, but I want our instructions to be the best in the industry, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've done great with that. The only other person that out instructions you, it's not that their instructions are better, is Ride Tech. They put it all in an envelope and they write, Do not open, and then small instructions and
That's
close
right.
because nobody wants to open the instruction. Well, I'm going to do what I'm not supposed to, and that I always like that little humor in the ride tech stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
I've got one of those envelopes on my stack in the shop.
Yeah. So again, we want to thank Dennis for all you've done for the industry. We always look forward to seeing you. Everybody, Dennis gives great hugs, so you can stop by and get a hug wherever you see him.
Yep. We appreciate your friendship. It's
Yeah,
been awesome.
always honored to
So-
call you a friend in here too. There's
Yeah.
many people that have helped us in our industry. We always look forward to seeing. But the friendship from you has been absolutely incredible. So it's
Thank you.
you're one of the good guys out there. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. I thank the world of both of you as well.
well, it means a lot. And you've had some great guys. I've been bummed that you lost one guy recently. He's probably been gone a few years. I always liked dealing with him. He went on to another company, moved to the snow like an idiot. So,
yeah, not very smart.
but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed him. I still do, but I give him a hard time that he screwed up or where he left and went to. It's still a big company. I'm not going to say where he went, but yeah, you've had
I
some
know you're
great
talking about.
guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So
So we want to thank Dennis Overholser. Did I say that right? Did I say that right? Did we say your last name right?
yeah.
Overholser.
Because everybody messes up our name. It's Strange. It's French, and they just say strange. Nobody believes us.
Oh, Timothy.
So we want to thank Dennis from Painless for being a guest on the Strange Motion Way podcast. We'll see you at the next show, buddy.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. The Strange Motion Way podcast, brought to you by
Royal Purple. Premium synthetic motor oils and high-performance chemicals have been designed to improve performance, provide long-term protection, and give you the confidence to push your vehicle to the limit. Royal Purple Premium Synthetic Motor Oils.
Hey welders, ready to upgrade your gear and save some serious dough in the process? The Miller Build with Blue Savings and Rebate Program has you covered. Find amazing deals and cashback rebates on a wide range of Miller products, from welders to plasma cutters and everything in between, all backed by our 3-year warranty. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of the Miller Build with Blue program now. Visit us online or stop by your nearest Miller distributor today to start saving.